what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first that I've got for you guys today, Brandon Curry and his coach, Abdullah, part ways ahead of the 2024 Mr. Olympia. Now, I do want to point out that Abdullah posted this, and Brandon hasn't commented on it yet. And I have talked to Abdullah a bit over the past few years, and I did want to point out that Abdullah and Oxygen Gym are two separate things. Abdullah co-independently from Oxygen Gym. He used to be a part of the Oxygen team, but he hasn't been for a while. So that I want to make that distinction. It's not that Brandon and Oxygen are necessarily parting ways. It's Brandon and Abdullah specifically. So it's a pretty lengthy post here from Abdullah. But essentially he says, I coach Brandon, and he's a truly great guy, very humble and respectful. Any coach will be lucky to work with him. He's very generous and giving person. He even gave me 20% of the Olympia prize. He has a great family, and his wife Brandy is such a great woman and super supportive. They are family to me. Good luck, my brother, in your future. And whoever coaches you will be truly lucky to work with a person like you. I wish you the best in your family. And he tags Brandon and his wife. To my fans, am coming soon, he says. So I don't know if this necessarily means that Brandon is finding a new coach, or if maybe Brandon is just retiring. I mean, we haven't really been seeing much of Brandon in terms of like physique updates or competing. He hasn't done the Arnold Classic, which he typically does. He hasn't done it since 2022. I mean, he is 41 years old. He's not the oldest bodybuilder that's competing, but he's up there. He's in his 40s. He's got a whole family. But we did just see William Bonac, who's a year older than him and also has a family, make a really successful comeback. And if you look at Brandon Curry, his Olympia track record, since he won the Olympia in 2019, his placings have consistently gotten lower. 2020 placing second, 2021 placing second, 2022 fourth, 2023 fourth, all while working with Abdullah. So it could be that maybe his placings are dropping and he's thinking about retiring because maybe he won't win again. Or it could be that maybe he attributes that to his coach, that his placings have been dropping, and maybe he is looking for a new one. I mean, I love Brandon. I love his physique, and I think he was a great Olympia champion. But realistically, with all this new talent that's popped up since he won in 2019, all these new younger guys that are getting better every year, Brandon is one of the older guys, and he's kind of been declining every year. Do we really imagine that maybe Brandon would win another Olympia title against these young, hungry, rapidly improving guys? And like I said, maybe it is a coaching thing. Maybe with a different coach, he would bring a completely different package. And maybe that is why he and Abdullah have parted ways. But again, Brandon hasn't spoke on this. I haven't seen him address this publicly. He didn't even comment the post that I saw. But I did see that Brandon's wife responded and said, we love and appreciate you, and we are so proud of all that you're doing in your life now. Always family. But like I said, I haven't seen Brandon acknowledge this yet. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you guys think Brandon Curry is going to retire? Do you think he's going to find a new coach? Do you think he will continue to compete? And if he does, do you think there's a chance that he could win the Olympia again? Now, next up in the news, speaking of William Bonac just posted a couple of pretty impressive physique updates at a week and a half out from the Mr. Big Evolution show in Portugal. As you guys know, Bonac is out to prove a point. It was kind of a controversial decision in a lot of the eyes of the fans when he beat Urs Kalecinski at the M-Pro Classic in Spain. He got a pretty substantial amount of backlash from that, and he said, let's run it back, let's do it again, and he's competing at the Mr. Big Evolution. Now, I don't believe that Urs is doing that show, but Nathan, I've heard, is doing that show. So we haven't seen Bonac and Nathan go head-to-head, but logic would tell you, if Bonac beat Urs and Urs beat Nathan, then Bonac would probably also beat Nathan. Then logic would suggest that Bonac would then also beat Nathan. Now, I've also heard that at that Dubai Pro that's coming up at the end of July with $100,000 for first place, I've heard that Urs is doing that show. I've heard that Bonac's doing that show. I've heard that Nathan's doing that show. Neckzilla also is supposedly doing that show. And God knows who else might jump in that lineup for $100,000. I think it's going to turn out to be a pretty decent lineup. Not even decent, really good. A really good lineup. Now, next up in the news, we got a bit of an update from Neckzilla Rubiel Mosquera, whom we mentioned earlier in this video So he's meeting up with Chris Cormier and Breon Ainsley, and he's planning on competing in the Dubai Pro, which now would be 5 weeks away. So he's 5 weeks out. And I think the most accurate description of how Neckzilla looks in this video is that top comment there. He makes Breon look natural. And I think we're all kind of on the same page there. There's no question that Rubiel is a freak. He's gigantic. I mean, he is. But I still think there's a lot of people jumping the gun. Even in this comment section, I saw maybe 20 people say, "You're going to win the Olympia, future Mr. Olympia." I think that's putting the cart before the horse a little bit. He's got to qualify first. He's got to win a show first. Then he's got to get there and even compete at the Olympia. I mean, as freaky as he is, and he did look great at his pro debut, I'm not denying that, he definitely did. It's important to keep in mind that in the IFBB Pro League, his record is only one third-place finish. That's not to say I don't think he can win a show. That's not to say I don't think he can do well at the Olympia. But I want to see him actually show up, win a show, show up, compete at the Olympia. Because thus far, we have not seen him do that. And I guess the question is, if this Dubai Pro really has some of the guys that we think it will, Nathan, Bonac, Beirut, realistically, does Neckzilla have a shot at winning that against 3 guys already? And I'm sure there's much more than those 3. 3 guys that have all won shows recently. They've all been to the Olympia. Well, I guess I should say they've all qualified for the Olympia. Beirut hasn't been there yet. Nathan has been there, even though he hasn't been there recently. But I'm just saying, as freaky as Neckzilla looks in all these videos and pictures and updates, we got to keep in mind, the guy has only had a third-place placing in a pro show. We've got to measure our expectations a little bit that he's going to come in, win a show immediately, and go to the Olympia. I mean, he could, but I don't know how likely that really is. But sure, I do agree. As far as freak factor, I think he's freakier than all those guys. But he's got to actually show up. He's got to be consistent. He's got to compete. And he's got to have conditioning. And so far, all of those things he has struggled with. Now, the final story that I wanted to talk about today, the latest updates from Urs Kalecinski in the off-season. Now, I already talked about this a couple days ago. I made a YouTube short about it. But Urs really does look impressive. Like, legitimately impressive. So he's about 120 kilos here. So about 265 pounds. And he does not look bad. He does not look bloated. He doesn't look fat. He doesn't even look watery. He still looks conditioned. He still looks lean. Maybe his face looks a little full. But I really do think this reopens the discussion of should Urs switch to open, and will Urs switch to open? Is he being limited by his classic physique weight limit? I mean, there are very clear body parts that he needs to improve, his arms being one of the most significant ones. Maybe that's something limited by that weight limit, because 265 would put him 30-something pounds over his classic physique weight limit. So he's 30 pounds heavier, and he almost literally looks like he could step on stage. I wouldn't be surprised if Urs still has striated glutes in this video. Personally, I actually think Urs would do well in open bodybuilding. I think he'd be able to bring up some of the lagging body parts. I think he could compete at a higher weight for sure, and still bring his trademark crazy conditioning. Will we ever see that? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today. The French Ramon Dino, Mr. Unchained, a.k.a. Stephane NFC. This is the latest update from his coach, Patrick Tour. Stephane is competing in about a week and a half now at the Big Man Weekend, the same one that Bonac's competing at, but just in classic physique. And as many of you already know, this is kind of his return to the classic physique stage, trying to re-qualify for the classic physique Olympia, which he qualified for last year. He was unable to compete due to personal reasons, but now he's back. And honestly, he looks better than ever. Now, according to Patrick here, Stephane is still 4 pounds over the limit, so he's kind of another classic guy that in the offseason is significantly over that limit. And I think you can see that in his physique. And honestly, I think he looks bigger than he's ever looked here, even though his coach says he's flat. He looks like he's put on quite a bit of muscle since the last time that we saw him on stage. And I think the closer that he's gotten to this show, the more I see the similarities between him and Ramon Dino. At first, When he first hit the scene and people gave him this nickname, it was maybe 2 years ago. People started calling him the French Ramon Dino. But now that his physique has matured a little bit and he's put on some size, I really do see the similarities. It's not just people saying that. I can see it. And I think he's definitely your favorite to win. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And that's going to wrap it up for the video today. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NICKS&P, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.